It's said that you always remember your first, and I pretty much do. First date, first kiss, first time I did it, and the first and only time I received a Dear Jane letter. Now, if you don't know what that is, a Dear Jane or Dear John letter is the old fashioned way of being broken up with, like today, being told it's over by text. In other words, it's for anyone who's too chicken to tell you face to face. It was a few years later when I realized that this letter pretty much summed up my ridiculous dating life. See, I was always known as Single Nancy. Not that anyone ever called me that, they just knew that's who I was. And it got to a point whenever I received an invitation to a wedding or a big party, it was never for Nancy and guests because, well, they knew I didn't have a guest to take. So when I was 41 and realizing that apparently I was not girlfriend material because people seemed to like to be around me. I mean, I had the nice smile and laugh, and people really liked to just hang out, but only as much as being a friend was concerned. So, this letter, when I was 41, from the man I had been informally dating for a few months, when it arrived, it was somewhat of a surprise. And not because I thought this was anything special. It wasn't. And in fact, I had planned to talk to him on our next date and break up with him. But he canceled that date, thereby setting me up to once again be the one released. All right. So, 2 days after that canceled date, the letter arrived. Now, it came formally typed in business format with his return address typed on the envelope. And inside on the letter at the top left hand corner was typed the date with his full name and address. And at the bottom was typed his full name underneath his signature, which, yes, he had written out in full. I guess he kept putting his first and his last name just to make sure I knew which Kyle I'd been dating. Yeah, it was just the one. So the letter began. Dear Nancy, what I'm about to tell you will shock and surprise you. It has shocked and surprised me. Well, I didn't know what was going on with an opening like this. I mean, had the man been arrested after years on the run? I have recently met someone and fallen deeply in love. Wait, what? Apparently, there's a demon in my soul that rips me away from good hearted, decent, kind women like you and thrusts me towards evil, black hearted women like the current object of my obsession. God help me. Okay. If this is anything like my past, this will soon blow up in my face and I'll be left broken-hearted and with nothing left in my bank account. So, the best this guy could do with me was a night at McDonald's. And so the letter went on a bit more from that, but I think you get the idea. So this is how it went. Once again, I'd been left behind for someone who was more exciting than me. Since high school, I never knew how to flirt properly. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't take drugs, I didn't party. Being nice and normal just never seemed to cut it. Now, there were two long-term relationships in my life, one that lasted on and off for 2 years, but that one lasted that long just because my parents really liked him and I tried to make it work, and it didn't. Mainly because he kept lying to me and I slowly kept finding out. For example, his grandmother had died, and oh, wait, no, she hadn't. And his last name? Not his real last name. Then there's the relationship that lasted a full 2 years, but he was always keeping his options open. He even told me once that he wanted to be sure that there was no one better out there. And I know, I should have ended it right then and there, but don't worry, he took care of that soon enough when he cheated on me, dumped me, and married her. And so the dating continued. I tried the dating classifieds, which was the precursor to online dating. Now, I took this very seriously to try and find someone. So I had 13 dates with 12 men in 14 days. It did not go so well. I was asked once to be part of a live auction date fundraiser. Well, fun, I thought. So I stood on stage next to the auctioneer who began the bidding at $50, and nobody bid. Finally, he put me on sale. Now, there was the time I lived in New York for 3 months, so I decided to try online dating, and I met someone, and we dated for 3 weeks, when at that point, he asked me for $50,000, which I did not have, nor would I have ever given him if I did, and this was because he and his brother wanted to open a restaurant. Let's just say I took him off the menu. Now, at this point, I just kinda gave up. I mean, I All right. I had, albeit really 2 very bad boyfriends, but that seemed to be all that was allotted to me, and I was just exhausted and deeply disappointed trying to make something happen that clearly wasn't in the cards. At some point, I moved to South Florida for a job, alone, of course, and there was a time when a big storm was coming in with 110-mile-an-hour winds. Now, not knowing what to do, I went off to a middle school with 800 of my new friends at a designated Red Cross hurricane shelter. Soon after I arrived, we lost power and the temperature just soared to about 98 degrees inside and the humidity even higher. Soon everything became wet. Everything, the school desks, our clothes, I mean, anything that we touched or that touched us. Uh, Now, my curly hair became this big frizzy ball on my head, and I had worn no makeup because I figured that personal hygiene was going to be an issue. And none of us had brought a change of clothes because we thought we'd be there for a day. We were there for 2.5. Now, in the evening of the second day we were there, one of the men in the classroom I was in began talking to me. I had noticed him when he first came in because he had come in and settled this family down, in their space, and he would jump up and do anything that needed to be done, such as pushing the school desk back. I mean, he was always so helpful. And it turned out that that family he was with, those were his neighbors. He was single. So, at the height of the storm on that second night, we sat and talked all through it. And that's when I found out that he spoke Italian. And that is such a beautiful language that I asked him to say something to me in it, which he wanted to know if he needed to translate it, which I said, of course. And that's when, first in Italian, he said that he hoped to see me again after the storm was over. Well, I was thrilled, as you can imagine, but I was skeptical. Because I was always that now, especially in this situation when I couldn't have looked worse. And after the storm was over, this man came and checked on me every day. And we would sit on my porch talking because it was way too hot in my house that I'd boarded up the windows before the hurricane. And then he would leave before the post-storm curfew would take effect. This felt like an old-fashioned courtship. Now, 3 weeks later, another hurricane was coming in, but this time we rode that one out together at my house. And 2 years later, when I was 47, we got married. And oh, our honeymoon, we had to cut that short because another hurricane was coming in. We had to go board up the windows. You know, Hurricanes sort of became our thing. But now we live in Wisconsin where all we have to worry about is if the snowblower is in tip-top shape. And we sure needed that today. So, what I have to tell you is this was really quite a journey. It was such a dating odyssey of so many bad dates and failed relationships. And it all just battered my attitude. But it took a hurricane to make me just appreciate in the moment what was right in front of me. And when I did that, I met the love of my life. Now, what's funny is my husband sometimes jokes with me that I'm too goody goody, but I don't mind being the nice girl anymore because it led me to what I was looking for, especially when I let go and I let the universe take care of whatever was supposed to be. Thank you.